Am I the a-hole for not allowing my ex-wife to see our daughter? My ex-wife and I have a daughter together, who's now 4 years old. We were together for about 3 years total, 2 years dating and 1 year married. After our daughter was born, she lasted about 2 months before telling me, and these were her exact words, "I don't want to be a mom." She voluntarily relinquished her parental rights not long after. We ended up going back and forth in court for nearly a year over child support because she argued, and again, her actual words, women shouldn't pay child support. Since then, she's had zero contact with our daughter. Not a birthday card, not a gift, not even a "how is she doing?" We live in a small town, so it's not like distance is a factor. She's just never cared. Fast forward to now. I've recently started seeing someone, my first relationship since the divorce. She has a son just a month older than my daughter, and the 2 kids have become best friends. Things have been going really well. Then out of nowhere, my ex finds out about the relationship and suddenly wants to be involved again. She says that another woman shouldn't be raising her child, which she's not. I am. She's also been throwing around threats about trying to get custody, even though she voluntarily gave up her rights and legally can't. I honestly don't even think she understands how any of that works. So now I'm just sitting here like, am I wrong for wanting to shut all of this down? She had 4 years to be in our daughter's life and never once showed interest until someone else stepped in. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole. Yes, she messed up. But you're not going to enjoy the convo when your teenage kid asks why you forbade contact with the person who birthed them. People change, people grow, don't get left behind. But she's made it more than clear. She's decided she wants to be in her life now solely because of the other woman. I just didn't think that would be a good reason for wanting to see your kid, as opposed to just wanting to because you're her mom. Maybe I'm wrong though, I don't know to be honest. Dude, it's not your choice. She has a legal right to be in her child's life whenever she chooses. And if she take it to court, she will be awarded at the very least some visitation. Do you know how many single mothers have to deal with absent dads who come in and out of our child's life? We would love to tell them to F off, but parents have rights too, unfortunately. Kindly, I'm advising you to let the court handle it and don't prevent a relationship between your daughter and her mother. Your daughter will learn the truth on her own. Technically, she doesn't have any legal rights when it comes to our daughter. When she gave up her rights, it was outright stated it can't be undone. Relinquishing rights is completely different than being awarded custody. Not the a-hole. She's playing games and will drop as soon as she causes enough trouble. Might want to notify daycare, babysitters, schools, wherever she goes that the birth mother does not have custody and has no visitation, so she can't show up there and take your daughter. This is very smart, thanks. I will definitely do this ASAP. Agreed. I knew a dad/kiddo who had dealt with a kidnapping attempt. Most kidnappings are done by non-custodial parents. The metric you should use in deciding if someone is a part of your kid's life is, will they hurt her? As long as you believe, as I do, that your ex will get overwhelmed/bored and wander away without regard to your daughter's feelings, you're absolutely doing the right thing by keeping her away. Not the a-hole. This is tough. I agree she is probably doing this because of your current relationship and not because of any real interest in having a relationship with her daughter. But what if she has had a genuine change? Would you want to deny your daughter the chance to have her in her life? I would talk with your lawyer to be sure everything is covered legally. But I would also consider talking with a therapist for advice on how to proceed in the best way for your daughter. Exactly. As much as I don't like her, I have consistently hoped for her to reach out over the past 4 years strictly for my daughter's sake. Just for her to reach out because of pettiness really sucks. Next story. Am I the a-hole for considering leaving my wife over her daughter? I, 33 male, have been with my wife, 34 female, for 10 years, married for 3. My wife has a daughter with her ex. She is now 13. I used to have a great relationship with her. I was her dad. Last January 2025, her biological dad showed up, and now I'm considering ending my marriage because my life has been a nightmare. She stays with him a few days a week. She started repeating the same insults that her dad calls me. I told my wife, and she said that her daughter's going through a lot of changes and to be patient with her. Her soccer team needed a coach, so I volunteered, since I've been playing soccer since I was a kid. She has started making fun of me in front of the other kids. Yesterday, I said out loud that if anyone disrespects the coach or other players, they would be benched for 2 sessions. Then, within 15 minutes, in the middle of practice, she called me a pussy-ass bitch, which is what her dad calls me, because she didn't like my decision on the pitch. So I told her, "You're sitting on the bench." She apparently texted her mom and dad. When we got home, they were both furious at me. He was supposed to pick her up. They said I humiliated their daughter to boost my ego. My stepdaughter giggled. I told them what she called me. My wife said, "I asked you to be extra kind to her. It's your job as a stepdad." Her dad said, "That's because you are a pussy-ass bitch." My wife told him to stop. My stepdaughter left with her dad. I told my wife, "I can't do this anymore." She said, "So, bailing out like a coward instead of stepping up?" I've been thinking all night. Am I being an insecure jerk? Is this even salvageable? My wife doesn't even acknowledge that her ex has brainwashed my stepdaughter, or that it's inappropriate for her to call me that after all I've done for her over the last 10 years. Not the a-hole. If you're communicating your feelings clearly to your wife, and she isn't listening, what's the point of hanging about waiting until you hate her? Shrug your shoulders and walk. She thinks my stepdaughter is a teen and goes through so much, so I should just be extra kind and patient. No, she doesn't. She just doesn't want to put forth any effort to be a good parent or spouse. It's easier to tell the cooperative, nice, safe person to shut up and put up, rather than try to deal with the actual problem. The goal is not a happy family, it's to make her life easier. Father just showed up? He's causing problems? She needed to tell him to straighten up, or wait until the kid is 18 to see her. You have a huge wife problem. Not the a-hole. Ignore what the kid says, but if your wife isn't stepping up to handle this crap with her ex and her daughter, this is on her. That's my argument. Why is she not stopping her when she tells me to STFU or other insults? I never ever called her names or swore at her, so why is it okay for her to disrespect me? Dude, you are being abused verbally by stepdaughter, and both verbally and emotionally by your wife. Has your wife been tearing you down little by little to the point that you'll accept her abuse? Polish that spine and go. Or embrace pussy-ass bitch and your wife enabling her daughter's horrid and disrespectful behavior. How much cash and time are you laying out for the girl and her abusive mom? My wife is a stay-at-home wife, so I'm responsible for all the expenses and all the extracurricular. She volunteers at her school, so she is busy. Well, she better get a job. She would no longer be a stay-at-home anything. You work and support these people and they treat you like crap? Why the heck is the deadbeat even allowed at your house to begin with? If he wants his kid, he would have to meet her down the road to pick her up. Stop letting them treat you this way. Next story. Am I the a-hole for explaining to my future sister-in-law why her kids will never receive anything from us? I, 27 female, have a brother, 33 male, who has been dating his girlfriend Sarah for 2 years, and he proposed a couple of months ago. Sarah has 2 kids from her previous relationship, an 8-year-old boy and a 6-year-old girl. I would say that my parents and I are not very close to Sarah and her kids, but we are cordial and have never had any problems before. My partner, my brother Sarah, and I attended Easter dinner at my parents', and that's when the drama happened. Sarah's kids were at their father's, so Sarah used this celebration to confront us about my brother requesting a prenup. Basically, my brother explained to her that he expects them to sign a prenup, and that only his biological kids will have the right to inherit anything from our family assets. This is something that we as a family discussed before, and we all agree that only our children should receive assets or money from our inheritance. My brother is free to pay whatever he wants for his stepchildren out of his own money, but my children and his biological children will never have to share anything that our family has with them. Sarah claimed that we are being unfair and that we are treating her and her kids like some strangers instead of embracing them like family. She said that the normal and decent thing to do would be for us to see her kids as my brother's kids, who should have equal rights to any children they may have together. I told her, sure, after she gets married to my brother, she will become our in-law and her kids will be my brother's stepchildren. But this does not mean we have to share anything with them. I asked her, will my future kids receive anything from her parents or from their biological father's parents? She said no, obviously. So I asked her then, why would her kids be entitled to receive anything from us? Sarah said because they will be our family. So I told her that we have plenty of cousins who are also family, but I don't go around wishing to share my inheritance with them. There was a lot more back and forth between us, and Sarah was not letting this go. My brother asked her to stop because we were there to celebrate Easter, not to have this kind of conversation, but she kept on going, saying we need to clarify it once and for all. I told her that from where we stand, everything is clear, and it is only her who has a problem. She said we are greedy and cruel to some kids, and I snapped. I told her to deal with it. She is free to work her butt off and gather assets to leave to her children, but we will never divide anything outside of our family, and she should not expect her children to be our problem or burden to finance. I honestly feel she is very manipulative and is using my brother for what she and her kids can get from him, but that's my brother's problem to decide if this is the kind of partner he wants. I just want to know if I was too blunt in telling her the truth. Now for the top comments. Since you're talking about inheritance from your parents, what you've all decided previously and all want to continue is certainly up to you. Your brother having a prenup and a detailed will is a good idea, since she brought it up and wouldn't let it drop, not the a-hole. But your title is suggestive of more than that. You'll still give gifts to her kids the same as their kids if they have them, right? You're not going to be obvious they are second-class citizens, right? Of course, we are not monsters, and we don't dislike her kids or consider them second-class citizens. Even now, when they don't have bio kids together, of course we give the kids gifts for their birthdays, Christmas, etc. What my title mentions only applies to inheritance like assets, money, etc. Basically, my brother explained to her that he expects them to sign a prenup, and that only his biological kids will have the right to inherit anything from our family assets. Info: is this even necessary in a prenup? Who your parents leave things to is up to them and not your brother. If there is a family trust, names have to be added to it. If your parents are still alive, if your brother divorces. I don't quite understand how what your parents own would be impacted. My parents clearly mentioned that everything they have will only go to my brother and I, or if any of us dies before them, our share will only go to our bio kids, not stepkids, not spouses, etc. If, for example, I die before having kids, my share will go to my brother or his bio kids, so that everything stays in the family and vice versa. My brother and I have also financially contributed to our family assets, so it makes sense that everything should only belong to us. I don't know 100% how these things work, but as far as I understood from our parents, a prenup prevents a spouse to inherit anything in case of one of us passing without having a will. Not the a-hole, but I think you need to stay out of this going forward. This is between your brother and his fiancée. Thinking this through, your sister-in-law could make an argument that your brother's contribution to the family assets could be tied back to her contributions because it's a joint household. This could get super messy. It should be interesting to see what happens next. Last story. Am I the a-hole for choosing my roommate's business over a big family reunion after how my family acted? About 3 years ago, I left my ex. He wasn't a horrible guy or anything, but I was unhappy. He was obsessed with a video game and did some weird things on it. We had a dead bedroom and he wouldn't work on it. And we had basically shifted into being roommates. I didn't have enough saved for my own place, but I knew if I didn't leave, I'd end up stuck. I asked members of my family if I could stay with them until I had things figured out, maybe for about a month, up to 2 months. They all declined, so I lived in my car for a while. My family is big on pull yourself up by your bootstraps, no handouts, accept the consequences of your choices, etc., so I wasn't surprised. I didn't have any local friends to ask. Thankfully, after a few months, my high school friend Penny moved back to town and invited me to be her roommate. That's where I am now. Now for the conflict. My mom asked what I was doing in August because they were trying to get everyone to Florida for a family reunion. They had made reservations and plans under the assumption I'd go. A while ago, Penny asked me if I could help her out at her craft fairs this year. She does 10 to 15 of them, and it's a big to-do. She sells gorgeous jewelry and ceramics. I gladly accepted. I told my mom that I had plans over the summer and wouldn't be able to come. She got angry and asked what plans could be more important than a trip to Florida. I explained what I'd be doing, and she scoffed. She told me this was probably the last time we'd all get to be with some of the older family members, and said I had no sense of familial obligation. Suddenly, there's a family obligation for me to pay to travel to Florida and spend time with people who wouldn't even help me out when I needed it. I went to family dinners where, at the end of the night, I'd leave and go sleep in my car in the Walmart parking lot, and nobody blinked. I brought that up to my mom, and she immediately said that my own bad choices were why I ended up living in my car, and they weren't required to coddle me as a grown woman. I said it goes both ways. She said I was being a petty brat. I ended the call. My sister later called and asked what my problem was and why I'm still holding ancient grudges against the rest of them, and said this trip was supposed to be a big reset for the family. I do know there are a few members of my family I probably won't see again if I don't go. That's the main reason I wonder if I'm just holding on to hurt or if it's justified for me to do this. Am I the a-hole for not going to the family reunion and picking my roommate instead? If this was supposed to be a big reset for the family, they sure went about it in a strange way. Unfortunately, your mother and your sister showed you why you shouldn't feel bad in any way for not wanting to go to the circus. If there are any older family members that you miss, just drop them a card and say you're thinking of them with love and hope to see them soon. Loving, simple, and not involving them in any drama. Then go have fun with your friend. I did the same thing with a friend one year, East Coast craft fairs all summer, selling her jewelry. It was so much fun. Have a blast. Just remember, your friends are the family you choose. Big hug. I've helped her with a few in the past, and they are so much fun. You meet so many interesting people and artisans and make so many connections. I'm really excited to do it. Tell her a vacation at this time is a financially poor decision, and you have no inclination to make another bad decision where you may need help and cannot count on family. This trip is not something that you budgeted for. It was sprung on you at the last minute, without even asking if it was feasible for you, and you have prior commitments. Oh wow, I wish I'd thought of this when we were on the phone, because how could she have argued with that? Damn,